On News Radio 102.9 KARN. First News, Kevin Miller, joined by Senator Tom Cotton. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Kevin. Good to be on with you.
Thank you for being here. Insight on what's going on with Iran. Can you provide some of that, if you would?
I can, Kevin. Over the last 3 weeks now, there's been a real increase in the amount and the intensity of threat reporting from the Middle East, threats that Iran poses either through their own forces or their proxies against U.S. facilities and personnel and our allies. That's the main reason that the military recommended and the president decided to take certain precautionary steps, like deploying an additional aircraft carrier to the Persian Gulf, sending those additional B-52 bombers over, deploying more Patriot missile defense systems. All those are being deployed not to take military action against Iran, but rather to prevent military action by Iran, and if necessary, to retaliate for military action by Iran.
Senator Tom Cotton, is the rhetoric on both sides ramped up so high that a fight becomes inevitable?
No, Kevin. Military conflict is not inevitable. It's the product of human choices. The Ayatollahs would be making a grave mistake if they chose to launch any kind of military action against the United States and our people in the Middle East or against our allies.
Senator Tom Cotton, Iran, their leadership saying they don't want to fight. The Iraqi leadership coming out saying that they don't want it there happening either. Economic sanctions really tightening the grip on that country. Is there a time when we've seen economic sanctions work?
Well, that's Kevin, in part, probably why Iran is taking these actions, because the economic pressure they have faced has led their country into a recession, and the new sanctions that will prohibit all exports entirely could tip them over into depression. And Kevin, this is particularly bad for the Revolutionary Guard Corps in Iran, the shock troops of the Iranian Revolution, which are also a bunch of crooks and kleptocrats who are stealing the national wealth of the Iranian people. They are going to be hit particularly hard by these sanctions. This may be one reason why they are lashing out. But economic pressure is frequently a critical part of any national security approach, whether it's trying to deny your enemies in combat access to the resources and the critical materials they need to continue building up their war machinery, or before conflict, to try to put pressure on a country to change its behavior before it leads to war.
Senator Tom Cotton on News Radio 102.9 KARN. Senator, where are our allies in this situation? In particular, our European allies. Where are they lining up on it?
The European allies recognize that Iran poses a real threat to the region. They've been supporting terrorist groups like Hezbollah and Hamas, as well as trying to overthrow the governments of their neighbors through proxy groups. Doesn't mean they agree with every single decision the Trump administration has taken, but then again, they rarely agree with all the decisions that the United States takes. They would have liked to see the nuclear deal remain in place, but the nuclear deal is a dead letter, and I don't think that they're going to allow the disagreements over that nuclear deal a year ago to undermine the partnership that we have when we're facing off against an outlaw regime that's the world's worst state sponsor of terrorism.
Are they willing to help us and assist with any military if it's necessary?
I don't know if they will, Kevin, but we don't need their support either. The United States military is the finest in the world, and we have the ability, if we so chose and we're so provoked, to totally destroy Iran's third-rate military.
Senator Tom Cotton, Chinese tariffs are still in place there. Your take on what's happening with those?
China's been waging a trade war against the United States for at least 30 years. So this is an effort simply to end that war. Tariffs are a tool. They're not a long-term policy or an end state. They are designed to get better trading deals for all Arkansans in all industries, farmers, ranchers, foresters, manufacturers, and make sure that China treats us on a fair and level playing field. If China doesn't start giving us a fair and level playing field, then I'm sure that we'd be willing to sell our products in the countries like Vietnam and Taiwan, and I bet those countries would be very happy to make some of the products that currently get made in China.
Senator Tom Cotton, again, the same question. Where are our allies in this, in particular our European allies? Wouldn't it be better to have a partnership and a united front with other countries rather than the U.S. Just going this alone?
Well, China certainly is the number one adversary we face, not just economic, but military in the long term. Now, Europe is not the best trading partner we have either. Europe discriminates against a lot of our farm products, to include some of the rice that we grow in Arkansas. They've slapped very high tariffs on our automobiles as well. The president has been trying to get a better deal for Americans in Europe, too. Although I do think you saw steps taken last week that recognizes even though some of our allies don't treat us on the fairest of trading terms, very disappointing, given all we do to help protect their independence, that it's best to focus on China right now because they are the long-term threat. That's one reason why the president lifted the steel and aluminum tariffs on Mexico and Canada, one reason why he postponed for 6 months any decision about automobile tariffs, because I think he, rightly, wants to put the focus on China and everything they do to undercut American jobs and the American economy.
Senator Tom Cotton, fairly quickly here, the military spouse licensure bill, what is that about?
So military spouses have to move with their service members, obviously, and a lot of them have a professional license that they can't take across state lines. So you have an airman move to Little Rock Air Force Base, and if he has a wife who's a lawyer or a husband who's an architect, they can't easily get a job in Central Arkansas. Our bill would allow states to enter into agreements that says if you have a license in one state and you're married to a service member, then you can have that license recognized in any state, subject to health and safety requirements, of course. That would make it that much easier for family members when they move to stay in the military, when they might have to move or stay in the military, to keep that second income that often makes ends meet for our military family. It'd also be good for our local communities. It means that Central Arkansas, for instance, might have more doctors, more nurses, more architects, more barbers and beauticians, and so forth. I think it's a great win for our military families as well as our local military communities.
Senator Tom Cotton, good to talk to you this morning. Thanks so much.
Thank you.